their ideologies. It's the will of the people. And we need to remind them of that. We know that over 80% of the households in the state of Wisconsin, including gun owners, support both of these life-saving pieces of legislation. And I am so proud that Governor Evers has called for a special session in Wisconsin. I was hopeful that maybe, despite the fact that my Republican colleagues have not scheduled public hearings in the way that they have the ability to, not insert the political rhetoric into this, but actually allow the political process to rule, they have not done that. So when they say that Governor Evers is playing politics here, they are wrong, because they had the opportunity to follow the legislative process. These bills have been introduced. But we're gonna go into a special session. And within minutes of that special session being called, both Fitzgerald and Boss stood up and said defiantly, no. And that is really unfortunate. And that's where you all come in. Because maybe they're not your senator or your representative, but they are the two doors that are closed to this conversation from happening. And they need to be reminded that if they're gonna have that leadership role, that they need to grow a backbone and they need to listen intently. Maybe they need hearing aids to the people of Wisconsin who are requesting that we take this action and allow these bills to go through the legislative process. They could still call for hearings in committees on the original bills. They aren't doing that. And that's really unfortunate. So what I would like to encourage you all to do, and I'm sure you're gonna learn more about this, is to reach out to everyone you know across Wisconsin and pepper those two offices with phone calls and emails. And if they don't answer your questions, then let them know that you were gonna call them back and you would like to know when they're gonna have an answer for you. And continue to do that. Because they're the ones that are really stopping this conversation in the state of Wisconsin. And it's because of that influence of outside money. We know this isn't a partisan issue. Republicans and Democrats, men and women, urban and rural, black and white, young and old, NRA members and not. We all know that this is an issue about saving lives in Wisconsin. And again, 80% of the people in the state of Wisconsin support both of these bills. This is a matter of life and death. We can continue coming back and standing in this room, and we're going to continue raising our arms and saying we need this change, but we know in states that have implemented these policies, lives have been saved. We know Second Amendment rights in those states are still intact. It is past time that we roll up our sleeves and we come together and we have sticky, deliberative, difficult conversations about what it is that we need to do to take meaningful steps to address gun violence in our communities. That's what you guys do every single day. Like I said, in the morning, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're getting yourself ready, you're the heroes. The legislature is failing to act. Wisconsin's lives are at risk. And you need to remind folks of that unequivocally. My bosses are you, the people of the state of Wisconsin. And I think many of the legislators have forgotten that that is the case. You are the bosses. So when you're going into their offices this afternoon, don't be intimidated by them. You're their boss. Hold your heads high. Take a deep breath. They put their pants on one leg at a time. I've seen some of them with 2 different shoes on their feet. I may have been guilty of that certain days also, but they're just like you. You're their boss. It's their job to hear you. It's not easy. I know many of you are here because of terrible personal stories. And it's hard to have these conversations and to hear the stories of other people. But you are brave, and you are lifesavers, and you are change makers. believe in yourselves and believe in what it is that we are all doing. This is crucial and life-saving advocacy work. We may not get these bills to pass this session. We're certainly going to try, but we may not. But that doesn't mean we give up, does it? No. We continue waking up in the morning, rolling up our sleeves and marching forward and sharing our stories, because this army is growing and it is not going away. And I am so proud to be at your side as we do this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Representative Sargent. We are going to turn now to looking at the policies that we're going to be talking about. As Representative Sargent mentioned, there were 2 bills that Governor Evers wants to see addressed in the special session. And they are background checks on all gun sales and extreme risk protection order. And we're going to give you a little bit more information about those, as well as about some of the pretty nonsensical arguments that are being made against them. So I'm going to turn it over now to my coworker, Heidi Rose.
All right, good morning. I'm going to give you like the fastest, I guess I have to use the microphone. Yes. I'm going to give you just a really quick overview of these policies. I want everybody to remember that you do not need to be experts. You've got more information in your folders. We're going to do some role playing later this morning. So this is just to give you kind of an overview of what these policies involve. So we're talking, as you know, about background checks on all gun transfers and extreme risk protection orders, also referred to as red flag laws. Background checks. What we know about background checks is that they are kind of the baseline for all of the other policies that we're talking about. It's the way that we enforce people who are prohibited from purchasing firearms from being able to do so. In Wisconsin, if you are a licensed gun dealer, you will, and someone is purchasing a gun from you, you are required to do a background check and run that person's name through the system before you are able to sell them the gun. There's also paperwork and identification, things like that. If you are not a licensed gun dealer, you are not required to conduct a background check with that gun sale. And those are the sales that we're talking about. Because often we hear people say, well, wait, you have to have a background check when you purchase a firearm, and that's only in some places. At gun shows, we actually see advertisements for private party sales. Sometimes there's even a note on the table that says, no background check required here. So those are people who are not licensed gun dealers, and they are not, supposedly not in the business of selling guns, but it kind of looks like they might be in the business of selling guns. We also see these sales happen over the internet, at flea markets, rummage sales, but this is Arms List. This is where, in Wisconsin, we see a lot of our internet sales. Arms List is kind of like Craigslist for guns. If you go on to Arms List, I didn't take a screenshot of that first page, but there's actually a checkbox where you can check, it actually is checked for you for private sales. You can uncheck it if you want to try and find a gun dealer that's selling a gun. This was something I saw yesterday online. This guy is telling you, like, this is the deal of the century. He also says that it's going to be a face-to-face transaction with a handshake and cash. He would like you to have a CCW license or a driver's license. I'm guessing if you showed up with neither, he's probably gonna take your $650 in cash, because we know that's happened multiple times. But it's interesting, neither of those things are any guarantee that this person is not a prohibited purchaser. All right, I have a feeling I'm supposed to be moving faster. Whoops. And as you've heard today already, the research shows us that background checks work. In Missouri, at one point, they decided everyone should have a background check with a gun sale, and they repealed that law and immediately saw a 25% increase in firearm deaths in their state. Connecticut put in place a law to require a background check on all gun sales, and we saw right away a decrease in their firearm death rate in the state. And as we all know, the public supports background checks on all gun sales, including 76% of gun owners. So we have 80% support, we have 4% that aren't sure, and then 16% that are opposed in our state. That's pretty strong agreement. We don't really see that on a lot of stuff. Extreme risk protection orders. It's a process that we need to put in place that would allow family members or law enforcement to petition a court when they feel that one of their loved ones is at imminent risk of harming themselves or someone else. I think generally that would be someone that they share a household with. But I don't know that, is that a requirement? Would that be a requirement, the household sharing? No, okay. Oftentimes, family members, friends, co-workers, that's right, not a household, have seen the warning signs. They've seen the red flags, but there's nothing they can do about it. And that was the case in the El Paso shooting. There were people who tried to warn law enforcement before that happened. Again, the research shows us that extreme risk protection orders work. They are in place in 17 states in the District of Columbia, and they've been around long enough for us to, for researchers to track the effects of that. We know that they're effective in reducing suicides in Connecticut. We had 14%, Indiana, 7.5% reduction in suicides. In Wisconsin, that equates to 40 to 50 people a year. These are lives that we could be saving. In California, between 2016 and 2018, they looked at the ERPO removals. In 21 of those cases, the people showed clear signs of that they intended to commit a mass shooting. And oftentimes what we see is extreme risk protection orders put in place after a mass shooting in many states. And what we have found is that they're very effective in preventing suicides as well. And what, again, we have strong public support for ERPO laws. 80% of Wisconsin, 81% of Wisconsinites support this, including 81% of gun owners in our state in this recent polling. So, in addition to these two bills that we've talked about quite a bit that will be part of this special session, there is a whole list of other initiatives that have been introduced in Wisconsin. I believe there are very few of these that have received even a hearing. There might be one on the list. These are other bills that you might hear about when you visit your legislator. On your folders, which I'm going to give you a little bit more detail about later this morning, you will see whether or not your legislator has signed on to background checks. The ERPO bill, the only two legislators that we know are the legislators that introduced those bills, because that has not received a bill number yet. So you'll be needing to ask your legislators about that, and if they mention, and whether or not they've signed on to any of these other good bills. And with that, I would like to bring up Jen, who is there. Let's see. And she is going to